Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 288 to 289 based on novel. So let's start. The moment the giant ancient god opened his eyes, the spatial crack he was in trembled violently. It was as if an unimaginable aura had suddenly flooded the spatial crack, causing it to become unstable. It felt like it could be torn apart at any moment. His eyes were as calm as a dead sea, revealing the passage of time. His rough skin was like the earth of a dried-up, abandoned planet. The giant stared silently into the void, and the giant's expression gradually became ferocious. There were 8 dim stars on his forehead, but as his eyes opened and he awakened from his long slumber, a light appeared from the first ancient god star. A thunderous rumble echoed across the entire spatial crack. This sound was far more powerful than thunder, but if one listened closely, they would hear that it was the sound of bones rubbing against each other. The body was the size of several cultivation planets, and a cultivation planet was just like a toy before it. The ancient god slowly got up. The distance the ancient god moved just to get up would take a cultivator that didn't know spatial bending several hours to cross. Wang Lin stared at the giant ancient god before him. The moment the ancient god got up, a gust of wind blew at him, causing him and everyone around him to be pushed back. Only the old man in black stared ahead with a mysterious light in his eyes. Compared to the ancient god, these cultivators were several times smaller than ants. "I'm ancient god Tuor Sen," a mighty voice echoed, and the surrounding space began to crack. The 8 kings of the corpse sect were pale and wanted to retreat. However, any distance they moved was meaningless to the giant ancient god. This is God." Master Flamespark's expression became even more pale as he stared at the ancient god's unimaginably large body. Even with his cultivation level, he felt a sense of helplessness. Wang Lin had the lowest cultivation level. Although he didn't cough out blood, more crackling sounds came from his body. More cracks appeared, and the crack on his chest penetrated his body. His expression was blank, his origin soul was injured, and the body showed signs of turning back to rock. Nirvana Shatterer cultivators had also entered the vortex. Thanks to their cultivation levels, they weren't affected by the law of time at all, but right now it was as if their minds were going to collapse. The voice caused their origin souls to become unstable as the thunderous sound echoed in their ears. The gaze of the ancient god that sat up turned cold and the second star lit up. If one were to take a closer look, they would see that there was something special within the star that lit up. He looked at the cultivators floating before him and raised his hand to swat at them like a mortal would do when he was trying to drive away some flies. His hands was the size of cultivation planets, and when he moved them, the wind they created contained a power that was impossible to resist. It was as if distance had no meaning for the ancient god. It only took a moment for him to lift his right arm and wave it. However, for all the cultivators, the hand replaced everything in their view. Rumble, 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 rumble. Before the deafening roar had even entered people's ears, the hand was already near. It was impossible to describe the speed of the arm. The Nirvana Shatterer cultivator in front couldn't escape at all, so he activated his full power and layers of protection appeared before him. Then, in the instant the tens of thousands of layers of protection appeared, he retreated. He was trying to take a serious injury in order to resist against this cultivation planet-sized hand. The arm closed in and touched the protection layer around the cultivator. The tens of thousands of layers of protection were as fragile as a thin piece of paper before the ancient god's arm. The tens of thousands layers of protection around the cultivator all collapsed at once. In truth, there was a tiny bit of time between the collapse of each layer, but the difference was so small, it was pointless. The arm didn't stop at all and simply swept by. The cultivator that had spent countless years to finally reach the early stage of Nirvana Shatterer revealed a miserable smile as his body exploded into a mist of blood that splattered on the ancient god's arm. His origin soul also dissipated. It turned into origin energy and was absorbed through a crack on the ancient god's rough skin. Seeing that the ancient god wasn't going to stop, the old man in black's eyes revealed a strange light. He took a step, and he crossed an immeasurable distance and arrived before the ancient god's arm. The old man's body was really insignificant compared to the giant arm. He was completely negligible. However, the old man was calm as he raised his right hand and his palm smashed forward. It was as if countless bolts of thunder had exploded between the old man and the ancient god's arm. The earth-shattering thunderclap echoed across the void. The arm that didn't seem like it would stop actually stopped when it collided with the old man's palm. At this instant, the wind finally caught up to the ancient god's arm and blew on the old man. The wind that could cause bodies to collapse and origin souls to shatter only blew the old man's hair backwards. One strand of hair cracked and was blown back. The old man's black clothes were blown back and tearing sounds came from his sleeves as 7 rips appeared. The lower part of the robe turned to dust. His right palm that collided with the ancient god's arm trembled as if ripples were moving through his skin. This ripple went through his right arm and his right sleeve tore a few more times before it turned to dust. The old man raised his head and his eyes lit up. His complexion turned red, but he suppressed the blood in his throat. He revealed a smile, then his left hand quickly pointed to the back of his right hand 5 times. When the first finger landed, an invisible force seemed to break this closed-off spatial crack. Endless origin energy came from all directions within 5,000 kilometers, entered the back of his right hand, and went into the ancient god's arm. The origin energy within 5,000 kilometers wasn't enough to deal with an ancient god. When the old man's finger landed a second time, enough origin energy to destroy the world gathered form 50,000 kilometers, 500,000 kilometers, 5 million kilometer to create a powerful force that rushed into the ancient god's arm. All of this happened in an instant. It was so fast, the surrounding cultivators had no chance to react. As a thunderous rumble echoed, the ancient god's arm was unexpectedly knocked back by the old man. The old man's hand parted from the ancient god's arm but left a very clear black handprint on it. You are worthy of being the rumored 8-star royal ancient god that was beyond law and only Nirvana void cultivators could fight. I once participated in killing an ordinary 8-star ancient god, and the difference is like heaven and earth. The old man retreated, and the redness on his face faded and was replaced with paleness. However, his eyes were bright as the moon and filled with battle intent. After retreating 7 steps, the old man's head jerked up and he rushed forward. He stepped on the arm of the ancient god to borrow force and then jumped toward Tuor Sen's face. Tuor Sen's eyes were still cold, and he revealed a look of contempt and arrogance. He lightly shook his right hand and the handprint collapsed. Then a thunderous roar echoed as he slowly stood up. This motion made him tower over everyone, and a power similar to the heavens might descended on everyone. After the 2 stars between Tuor Sen's eyebrows lit up, the third one also slowly lit up. However, there was something hidden deep within this third star, but it couldn't be clearly seen or felt. Only Wang Lin stared at Tuor Sen before him, especially at Tuor Sen's star far away. His heart was filled with shock as he knew of an 8-star royal ancient god spells. He only knew the names but had no memory of how to use the spells. Bury the void to refine the stars. Waste. A buzzing sound echoed as Tuor Sen waved his hands at the old man, causing a huge gust of wind. His arms moved as fast as spatial bending and instantly closed in on the old man. His 2 hands were like 2 cultivation planets smashing toward the old man. The old man's face turned red once more and his clothes puffed up. His left and right arms stretched open and he let out a roar, causing endless origin energy to condense before his arms. Glacier suddenly appeared, followed by a sea of flames. Then beyond that were countless mountains followed by endless thunder. These countless spells appeared in an instant and layered on top of each other. The old man's arms remained stretched as these spells bombarded the ancient god's arms. At this instant, the spatial brack trembled violently and a thunderous roar echoed. From afar, it looked like countless fireworks were being set off on Tuor Sen's arms. However, these spells only caused Tuor Sen's arms to stop for a moment, but this was enough for the old man in black to get out of the range of the arms and charge at Tuor Sen's head. Master Wuji, if you still won't appear, don't blame this old man for not keeping my promise. Did you forgot our agreement? The old man in black shouted as he moved. As this voice echoed, the middle-aged scholar sitting in the 4th star on Tuor Sen's head opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness, but they also contained a hint of bitterness. Master Lufu, I didn't forget our promise, but I'm powerless. You, leave quickly. An ancient voice filled with bitterness slowly spread across the void. However, the fourth star began to shine bright and brighter, and just as it reached the brightness of the other 3 stars, this voice disappeared completely. Just at the moment the voice disappeared, the old man in black's expression changed greatly. Wang Lin was also shocked, and with his understanding of ancient God, he vaguely guessed something. Just at this moment, Master Wuji's faded voice echoed once more. This time it was an angry roar. Leave quickly. The fourth star was originally extremely dark and could only be vaguely seen in this darkness. However, as Tuo Sen awakened, the star seemed to revive and was no longer dim. It began to light up and illuminate the surroundings. The middle-aged scholar sitting there looked normal, but if you looked closer, you would be shocked to find that the lower half of his body had integrated with the ground. They were linked together without any separation. The light didn't appear from a random direction, it started with this middle-aged scholar as the center. Every time the light got brighter, the middle-aged scholar's complexion would become paler and weaker. At this moment, the area he was in lit up and brightened the whole area. His body also withered in the blink of an eye, and now he looked like a skeleton. However, he didn't die. He wouldn't die, he could only spend countless years here. It was just he wasn't willing to give up, and this unwillingness led him to struggle. His facial expression twisted as he forced his cultivation to activate and he let out a roar. The pupils of the old man in black shrank and his expression became serious as he backed up. His eyes stared at the fourth star on Tuo Sen's head. At that moment, he clearly felt Master Wuji's voice come from there. However, what was strange was that when the old man in black's divine sense swept by, he found nothing. Thinking about Master Wuji's words, the old man in black's mind trembled and he retreated without hesitation. None of you can escape. The contempt in Tuo Sen's cold gaze became even stronger, and there was a hint of mockery in it. His gaze viewed everyone as ants and was extremely arrogant. You're my 5th ancient god star after Master Wuji. Tuo Sen's voice echoed across the world, then he mercilessly took a step forward. However, at this moment, his 4th star shined brightly. The light was very different from the other 3 stars, and it seemed like it was going to collapse. This caused Tuo Sen's right foot to stop for a moment. The old man in black was retreating, but he turned around as his right hand reached at the void and a broken sword appeared. It was only half a sword, but the moment it appeared, an unimaginable pressure spread out. The old man bit the tip of his tongue and spat out blood on the broken sword. He then threw it at Tuo Sen. This broken sword whistled out with a heaven-shaking killing intent and sword energy as it rushed out. Tuo Sen's foot stopped for a moment before continuing, but the moment it came into contact with the broken sword, Tuo Sen let out an angry roar and blood appeared. The broken sword unexpectedly penetrated Tuo Sen's right foot. It carried an irresistible force as it broke through the leg and charged toward Tuo Sen's face. The broken sword spell was far beyond what a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator could do. Not even Heaven's Blight cultivators could match the speed of this sword. All of this only took a moment, and the broken sword pierced through Tuo Sen's right leg. In another flash, the sword closed in on Tuo Sen's face and charged at the 4th star. At this moment, the light coming from the 4th star became even stronger, as if Master Wuji was struggling to escape. However, just as the broken sword broke all barriers and was within 100 feet of the 4th star, the 3rd star also shined brightly. A person unexpectedly walked out from the 3rd star. This person was like a skeleton, making it impossible to see their original appearance, and their entire body was naked. They only took one step to arrive next to the broken sword, and they mercilessly pinched it. It was difficult to describe the grace of the pinch. In Wang Lin's view, this pinch went with the flow and activated some kind of law of the world. That seemed inappropriate, because it was as if the law of the world had changed due to this person's action. The broken sword suddenly stopped and 2 fingers appeared around it. No matter how hard the sword struggled, it couldn't escape the 2 fingers. However, the owner of the 2 fingers, the skeleton-like cultivator, also suffered a powerful impact. Popping sounds came from his body as if his body was going to collapse. His dark eyes shined brightly and a crescent moon mark appeared between his eyebrows. The bright mark appeared in everyone's eyes. With a roar, his right hand mercilessly threw the broken sword to the side, causing it to fly upward. After doing all this, the skeleton's chest moved up and down rapidly as he returned to the third star. This scene caused Wang Lin's face to become bitter. The old man in black's eyes flashed once, then he waved his right hand without hesitation and the broken sword disappeared. He immediately turned around to leave. He was very fast and even broke the spatial crack, and he was about to leave. "You can't escape." Tuo Sen's eyes revealed a ghostly light. The fifth star was completely dark, but at this moment, it began to rotate on its own due to some unknown spell. The rotation reached a peak, and from a distance, it looked like a black hole. The star flew off from Tuo Sen's forehead and headed toward the old man in black. However, the moment the star flew off Tuo Sen's head, the fourth star shined brightly and the light burst out. It wrapped around the fifth star that had flown out and blocked its path. "Master Lufu, quickly leave. This old man was wrong, very wrong. I shouldn't have tried to covet the power of the royal ancient god to break through the early stage of Nirvana void, and now I ended up like this." Inside the fourth star, Master Wuji coughed out blood and his body trembled. He was using his connection with the ancient god to stop the fifth star from absorbing Master Lufu. He knew that if Master Lufu was devoured, he would never have a chance of escaping in his life. If he wanted to escape, then he had to risk it all to save Master Lufu. Only then would he have a chance of survival in the future. The old man in black didn't hesitate and stepped forward. Ripples appeared before him to form a vortex. Just at this moment, Tuo Sen's eyes became cold and he ignored the fact that his fifth star's devour was stopped. He lifted his right hand and pulled back in the void. Purple lightning immediately appeared to form a giant spear the size of several cultivation planet. God-slaying spear. This was the real royal ancient god treasure, God-slaying spear. Holding this spear, Tuo Sen had a ferocious expression, and he mercilessly threw it. The god-slaying spear flew through the air with a earth-shattering whistle. It was filled with the power of the ancient god as it charged at the old man in black. It was too fast for the eyes or divine sense to detect. Spatial cracks appeared along the space it passed, forming a trail of destruction. The old man in black's expression was gloomy. Even if he could step into the vortex, he would still be injured by the god-slaying spear. Once he was delayed and the fifth star broke free of Master Wuji, then it was likely for him to be trapped here. However, he didn't have time to think too much. His hands formed a seal and the broken sword appeared before him once more. He coughed out blood and waved his hand, then the broken sword charged out at the god-slaying spear. Wang Lin silently watched. He had clearly seen how strong Tuo Sen was. Although he had memories of how strong Tu Sai was, seeing it personally was different from memories. He stared at the god-slaying spear that flew through the void. To others, this spear might have seemed like the heaven's might, like it could kill all creatures, but to Wang Lin, it was only a treasure. The broken sword immediately collided with the god-slaying spear. The size of the broken sword couldn't compare to the god-slaying spear at all, but its aura was only a bit weaker. Although it was impossible to even see the broken sword, there was a loud rumble and the god-slaying spear paused for a moment. A thunderous rumble echoed as the broken sword was pushed back and disappeared into the void. The god-slaying spear trembled, and thunderous rumbles echoed inside the spear before it charged out once more. I can't let the old man in black be devoured by Tuo Sen's star. This was the only thought in Wang Lin's mind. The moment the god-slaying spear paused, he didn't hesitate to charge forward. His speed reached its limit and he arrived before the giant god-slaying spear. His action caused the old man in black's pupils to shrink, caused Master Flamespark to tremble, and caused the 8 kings of the corpse sect to be filled with terror. Wang Lin closed his eyes, and the moment the god-slaying spear closed in, his body collapsed, leaving behind the sliver of origin soul. Before it was destroyed, his sliver of origin soul formed a seal and sent out a command at the god-slaying spear. I use my will to hinder your path. The god-slaying spear trembled for a moment, but a violent aura suddenly came out. It represented Tuo Sen's will. It collided with Wang Lin's fragile origin soul and caused it to collapse. "I'll save the first ancient god star for you." This was the last thing Wang Lin heard after his origin soul was annihilated. Wang Lin's obstruction and that pause gave the old man enough time to enter the vortex and disappear. Master Flamespark and the 8 kings of the corpse sect all rushed into the vortex and disappeared. The god-slaying spear directly collided with the vortex and a powerful force echoed through the vortex. Master Flamespark had just barely left the vortex and was affected by this force. He coughed out blood and immediately looked weakened. Both of his legs exploded and even his origin soul became unstable. He let out a miserable smile, and his hatred for Tuo Sen increased greatly. It was only second to his hatred for Master Zhong Xian. Seeing the force come once more, madness filled Master Flamespark's eyes. He was about to give up his body in exchange for his origin soul's escape. The old man in black appeared next to Master Flamespark. He grabbed Master Flamespark and disappeared. The 8 kings of the corpse sect finally escaped, but that shocking force immediately arrived. All 8 of their bodies trembled and collapsed and 8 cold auras escaped. However, before this terrifying power, 5 of them collapsed. The remaining 3 took out coffins as they rushed in and obtained new bodies to escape with. However, that shocking force echoed once more, causing their bodies to collapse again. This cycle continued. This less than 10,000 feet of distance was like the apocalypse for them. They left a trail of blood mist as another died. The remaining 2 kings of the corpse sect were about to lose their wits. Seeing the force close in on them once more, the 2 became desperate. At this moment, a black vortex suddenly appeared beside them and 2 arms reached out. The arms grabbed the 2 of them and pulled them into the vortex. "Lord Sovereign." Their eyes filled with ecstasy and they didn't resist, allowing the arms to drag them into the vortex. At this moment, the force from the god-slaying spear entered the vortex. There was a groan of someone being injured, but it seemed they still survived, and the vortex disappeared. On the moon outside planet Suzaku, inside a very ordinary mountain, Wang Lin opened his eyes. After a moment of confusion, he immediately stood up and waved his right hand to put the female corpse away. He then destroyed the formation on the ground and disappeared using spatial bending. When he reappeared, he was already very far from planet Suzaku. However, Wang Lin didn't stop and quickly moved. His face was pale and gloomy. He had never felt fear before, but his mind trembled. Tuo Sen's words continue to echo in his mind. "I'll save the first ancient god star for you." If I faced Tuo Sen, even if my original body had gone through the 3 trials 7 calamities, even if I had the spear, I wouldn't survive even a punch. Wang Lin revealed a bitter expression. He didn't know if Tuo Sen had escaped or not, but he knew he couldn't stay in the Alliance star system. He had to leave as soon as possible and never come back. Unless he had the power to resist Tuo Sen. He disappeared once more with a bitter expression using spatial bending and appeared in the place where he left an escape route for himself. This was a remote and deserted planet. He had set up a formation here before meeting the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. This abandoned planet wasn't deserted, there were a lot of mortal cities on it. Due to the fact that not many cultivators came here, it was quite peaceful. At this moment, it was winter on this abandoned planet, and snowflakes fell from the sky. In some villages, the snow attracted the playful children. Today was a major festival for this planet. The origin of this festival had long since disappeared in the river of time and was forgotten by a majority of the people. However, this custom was unknowingly passed down until it became a habit. Every household lit up lights. It seemed like one could hear joyous laughter from all directions. It was originally night, but due to the lights from every household reflecting off the snowflakes, it was still very bright, though it wasn't as bright as day. There was a young man silently walking forward in the snow, leaving behind a trail of footprints. However, the footprints weren't very deep and were soon covered up by the snow, all traces swept away. This youth was wearing all white and even his hair was white. When the snowflakes fell on his hair, it was almost impossible to distinguish between his hair and the snow. The cold wind of the night gently blew the snow on the ground into the air, mixing it with the falling snow. The snow eventually fell once more, and there was no distinction between the new and old snow. This youth quietly walked through this snow. The snow was very deep, and the youth produced slight crunching sounds as he walked. However, the wind was very loud, and this crunching sound was covered by the wind. The youth's white clothes were very thin, and his pants and shoes were also very thin, but he didn't seem to fear the cold. He silently faced the wind and snow. His heart was filled with melancholy and the bitterness of having to leave as he slowly walked forward in the snow. The sharp northern wind contained cold and snow as if it wanted to stop the youth from leaving home on this holiday. However, it all fell apart after landing on the youth. It was powerless. In the dark, snowy night, there was no one else around him. Only the wind and snow accompanied him. After an unknown amount of time, the youth stopped. It was impossible to see the landscape of where he was at, as the entire ground was covered in snow. This was a plain. Here it is. Wang Lin raised his head and calmly looked at the sky. The snowflakes fell before him and blanketed the ground. He shook his head to shake the snow off his head. Wang Lin let out a deep breath and turned to white mist that gradually disappeared. He gently took a step and then the surroundings shook. At this moment, a silent storm picked up all the snow within the area and blew it into the sky. The snow was blown far away by the wind. After the snow was gone, a giant formation appeared in this 10,000 feet area. This formation was very complex and had pieces of stone positioned within it. After silently pondering a bit, Wang Lin let out a sigh and walked into the center of the formation. Then his right hand reached at the void and a crack to this storage space opened. With a thought, the stones he had gathered on the way here all flew out one by one. They hovered in the air, and there were no less than 100. As Wang Lin waved his right hand, these stones all scattered and landed in different positions. In an instant, the formation lit up and slowly showed signs of activating. As the formation activated, the snow that was falling didn't get close, it was all pushed away by the formation. Wang Lin sat on the ground and silently pondered. His right hand reached out and grabbed an origin soul from his storage space. This origin soul's eyes were closed, it was unconscious. Holding the origin soul, Wang Lin's left hand formed a seal and pointed at the origin soul multiple times. The origin soul trembled with every point and then was finally thrown into the air by Wang Lin. The origin soul began to stretch and twist until it formed a vortex. This vortex whistled and miserable screams came from inside it. At this moment, the formation on the ground activated and a roar replaced the wind. The formation lit up, but the light didn't fly into the sky. Instead, it went into the vortex. As popping sounds echoed, the vortex seemed to be constantly open. As Wang Lin sat there, his hands formed a seal and he calmly said, "Use the soul as the guide." Blood light immediately came from the vortex. As Wang Lin's words echoed, the light entered the vortex. It seemed like all the power from the formation was sucked out and it turned into dust. Even the stones became ashes. The vortex in the sky stopped rotating and began flashing. It was completely dark inside, as if it was a passage. Wang Lin stood up and stepped into the vortex. He looked back at the ground. Although this was an unfamiliar planet, it was still the Alliance star system. This place contained the aura of his home, his family, his friends, and his story. I don't know when I can return. Perhaps I'll never be able to return. Fortunately, I have the snow and wind to send me off. That's enough. Wang Lin revealed a bitter gaze as he let out a laugh. He walked into the depths of the vortex and the vortex gradually disappeared without a trace. The vortex disappeared from the plains of this abandoned planet, but the laughter continued to echo. The laughter was slowly drowned out by the snow. The empty 10,000 feet area on the plain was slowly filled in by snow. Just like Wang Lin's footprints, it all disappeared. The four great celestial realms each had a star system under them. The Rain celestial realm had the Alliance, and they only had one rank 9 cultivation country. The Thunder celestial realm had all heaven, which had families with inheritances from ancient times. The two different types of environments caused the cultivation methods and directions of each system's cultivators to be very different. Even though they were all cultivators, the difference was huge. Compared to the Alliance's strict rules, all heaven had more freedom. However, all that freedom could be given up for the honor of the family. Honor was above everything. The Cloud Sea under the Wind celestial realm was very different from these systems. The Cloud Sea star system was bigger than all heaven. It could be said that among the 4 star systems, the Cloud Sea star system was the biggest. At a glance, the space wasn't dark, but covered by a thin layer of fog. This fog existed almost everywhere in the Cloud Sea, and divine sense would be hindered by it to a certain degree. Due to the fog that had existed for almost an eternity, the Cloud Sea star system didn't look like a star system, but more like a cloud sea. This was the origin of its name. Due to the unique fog, even powerful cultivators could get lost without a star map. They would be forever trapped inside this fog if they didn't have one. Even spatial bending was severely affected. Though it had its uses, they were not many. No one knew the origin of this fog. This fog that filled the Cloud Sea seemed to have existed since before the ancient celestial realm disappeared. Unlike how all heaven and the Alliance, which were divided into east, south, west, and north, the Cloud Sea wasn't divided like that. The Cloud Sea made it difficult for cultivators to know the exact direction. The fog also didn't allow the Cloud Sea star system to be divided like that, and instead it was based on the concentration of fog. From inside to out, there were a total of 9 ranks. These 9 ranks were actually 9 irregular-shaped rings. The outermost was rank 1, and the innermost was rank 9. The continent of Moluo existed in the 5th rank of the fog. From afar, the continent would fade in and out of existence. At the center of the continent, there was a towering black tower that exuded a soft light that enveloped the continent. This made it so the fog couldn't get into the continent and always pushed it away. This made the area around the continent clear. It wasn't that the Cloud Sea star system didn't have real cultivation planets, they were just very rare. Most were concentrated in rank 7 or higher areas, and there were less than 100 total. Below rank 7 areas, it was mostly filled with these floating continents. Each continent represented a different sect. Rain was falling down on the northern part of the continent of Moluo. This rain covered the world as poured down, and it had rained for unknown amount of time. The ground was already covered in mud and all the leaves were bent over as if they were suppressed by the rain. The rain rolled along the line in the center of the leaves and fell on the ground. Small beasts hid in the corners and trembled in the rain. On the ground, there were a few small, colored snakes playfully moving in the mud and water. For them, such a rainy night was the perfect time for them to forage. This was a jungle. There was no sound aside from the sound of the rain falling on the leaves. It was relatively quiet. There would occasionally be flashes of lightning in the sky that would light up the earth covered in darkness. Deep within the jungle, there was formation about 1,000 feet wide. As the rain fell and washed away the soil, it made this formation even more clear. There were no cultivators around here. The last group of cultivators guarding this formation had left 3 months ago. However, they hadn't destroyed the formation, as if they still had a glimmer of hope. The lightning flashed in the night. When it lit up the world once more, cracking sounds came from the formation. However, the roaring thunder completely suppressed the sound. A blue light appeared from the formation and gradually covered it. The rain in the sky seemed to fall even faster, as if it knew that a cultivator that didn't belong to the Cloud Sea, one who would shock the 4 celestial realms, was going to appear. The rain fell even harder. The amount of flashing lightning increased. There was a mountain range far east of the jungle on the continent of Moluo. This mountain range was very strange. It didn't wind like a dragon, but formed a circle. There was a giant basin in this circular mountain range. The basin was filled with pavilions, and their lights illuminated the night. However, there was a sense of sadness in the basin. Not even the rain could suppress the sadness, and not even the lightning in the sky could cause the sadness to dissipate in the slightest. There were 8 large 100 feet thick pillars scattered around the mountain outside the basin. The 8 pillars were all equal distances apart from each other without the slightest difference. They seemed to grow from the mountain and pierce into the sky. About 100,000 feet in the air, the 8 pillars collected with a large Daoist temple. From a distance, it looked like the Daoist temple was supported by the 8 pillars and floated in the air. Aside from looking majestic, this Daoist temple was very ordinary. It was quaint but also gave off a powerful pressure that shrouded the earth. At this moment, as the rain quickly fell, a bell echoed across the mountain range. The sound of the bell was majestic as it broke the rain and replaced the thunder. However, it seemed to cause the sadness below to become even stronger, and there were even faint sounds of crying. Countless cultivators walked out from the pavilions inside the basin. There were men, women, and children among them, and they all wore Daoist robes. They let the rain fell on their bodies and wet their hair. They didn't use any spells and looked sorrowfully at the Daoist temple as the rain fell on their faces. The rain mixed with the tears that fell down their cheeks. An old man in a Daoist robe sat in the Daoist temple above the basin. He looked very kind, but his face was pale. He quietly sat there, and his expression was calm. There were 4 people kneeling before him. Among the 4, there were 3 men and 1 woman. Aside from 1 man and the woman being middle-aged, the other 2 were both old men. They knelt there with sad expressions, but there was no lack of respect on their faces. The woman, who was very beautiful, bit her lower lip and tears fell from the corner of her eyes, wetting the floor. The old man's eyes were filled with kindness. There was also reluctance in his eyes as he slowly said, "Teacher's lifespan is about to end. You all shouldn't feel too much sorrow. All cultivators will have a day like this. After teacher leaves, the origin sect will rely on the 4 of you. Teacher." Even more tears flowed out from the woman's eyes. She looked at the old man and memories flashed through her mind. The remaining 3 looked even more sad. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to break through to the Nirvana Shatterer stage. Otherwise, during the trip to the rank 8 spirit origin sect, I wouldn't have had all my vitality sucked away by someone from the main sect and ended up like this. The old man shook his head. There was unwillingness in his eyes, but even more helplessness. The middle-aged man clenched his fist and said, "Teacher, that purple Dao sect placed a formation on our continent of Mo Luo and secretly went to the Alliance star system. When they failed to come back, why did the main sect place their anger on us?" The old man pondered. His face became even more pale and a death aura emitted from his body. He slowly said, "The main sect must have a reason for this. Don't try to understand their reasoning. If you're unsatisfied, then bring my origin sect out of last place in the competition held by the main sect in 100 years. Then your teacher can laugh merrily in the afterlife." The 4 silently pondered. There was a hint of bitterness in their sadness. The sect competition that occurred every 1,000 years was a big event in the Cloud Sea. All the sects in the Cloud Sea would participate, but in this competition, they always returned last and had never been able to soar. The death aura on the old man became even stronger. He took a deep breath and looked at the rain outside the temple as he raised his dried-up right hand. A few months ago, his hand wasn't like this, but at this moment, it was as if all the blood and flesh had been drained. It was like a skeleton's hand. Seeing the old man's hand, even more tears came out from the woman's eyes. The remaining 3 clenched their fists. They were about to break their own jaws from clenching their teeth too hard. The old man didn't look at his right hand and waved at the void. A spatial crack to a storage space appeared. This crack was purple, and the moment it appeared, a terrifying aura came out. Shortly after, a dark purple giant python slowly poked out its head. This python's head was dozens of feet large. The moment it appeared, a pressure filled the Daoist temple. However, this python looked tired, and the head that came out circled around the old man. There was sorrow and reluctance in its eyes as its tongue touched the old man. "After I die, this rank 5 purple-eyed python will be my origin sect's sect beast. All of you, treat it well." The old man's face was no longer pale and was even red, he looked more energetic. However, this was merely his last wind, his end was nearing. "Now let teacher use the last of my vitality to use the great beneficent spirit spell and find a spirit partner child for my origin sect. Come to think of it, I was chosen by my teacher like this. At that time, I was only a village youth." The old man revealed a nostalgic smile as his hands formed a seal and he closed his eyes. The 4 of them sadly looked the old man before them. They knew that all the sect leaders of the past that hadn't died outside had used the last of their vitality to use the Great Beneficent Spirit spell. It was supposed to find someone on the continent of Mo Luo that would be of great help to the Origin sect in the future. This spell was very mysterious, and no one could explain the way it worked clearly. Not even the old man in the Daoist robe understood it clearly. He just knew that this Great Beneficent Spirit spell had been passed down for a long time. This spell wouldn't always succeed. In truth, over the countless years, every time the sect leader of the Origin sect was going to die, they would use this spell. Over the countless years, it had only succeeded twice. The rest all failed, indicating that no one fitting existed on the continent of Mo Luo. The old man in the Daoist robe's last trace of vitality and origin energy burned. A blue flame appeared around his body and then he gradually disappeared before his 4 disciples. During this, his divine sense was exceptionally empty, as if he had touched some law. His divine sense enveloped the entire continent, looking for the spirit partner child. He searched again and again, but he found no sign of the spirit partner child. The old man in the Daoist robe let out a sign as he knew the Great Beneficent Spirit spell didn't succeed. At this moment, inside the Daoist temple under the burning blue flame, only his head remained. He was about to disappear completely. However, just at this moment, his divine sense noticed a light coming from the rain in the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo. The reason he paid attention to that jungle was because that was where the gateway to the Alliance star system was located. He clearly saw the transfer away light up, and at the same time, a white figure slowly walked out. His white hair flowed in the dark night, and even the rain seemed to tremble. What was even more strange was that the rumbling thunder seemed to fear this person and unexpectedly dispersed. The mind of the old man in the Daoist robe trembled violently. His mind had never been so clear, and at the instant he saw the youth in white, he had a terrifying guess. This person wasn't a cultivator from the Cloud Sea. Just at this moment, the youth in white coldly looked at the sky. This gaze caused the thunder to stir and quickly retreat. The old man in the Daoist robe was shocked, and the gaze of the youth in white caused his mind to be shaken. Due to using the Great Beneficent Spirit spell, he seemed to have fused with a special kind of law, allowing him to clearly see countless resentful souls around the youth in white. There were too many resentful souls to count, and it was a shocking sight to behold. They all stared ferociously at the youth in white, but none of them dared to get close. These were all the people that had died by Wang Lin's hands. A sense of extreme danger suddenly filled his mind and he frantically tried to recover his divine sense. He had to tell his disciples of this news as soon as possible. He had to let his disciples escape and report this news to the main sect. Inside the Daoist temple, the old man that was almost burned out of existence suddenly opened his eyes. This action caused the 4 people before him to look up. North region. He could only say these 2 words, as his life had come to an end. His origin soul collapsed and his divine sense disappeared into the void. All traces of his existence were wiped from the world. The old man was filled with unwillingness and struggled to scream out 2 more words before he disappeared from the world. White hair. The 4 of them stared straight ahead as their teacher died. The 4 words their teacher left behind shocked them, but they didn't know why their teacher's face was filled with shock. In the Origin sect, the bell echoed and the basin was filled with cries. As the bell echoed, there was sorrow, reluctance, confusion, and panic. All disciples of the Origin sect, go to the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo and look for anyone with the qualifications to cultivate, regardless of their age, especially if they have white hair. At the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the sky. The rain fell and landed his body. The water melted the snow he had on him from the Alliance and slowly flowed off his clothes. Then Wang Lin slowly moved forward on this foreign land. The snow from the Alliance and the rain from the Cloud Sea. At this moment, there was no way to tell them apart. When I left, the snow sent me off, and when I arrived, the rain welcomed me. It's not bad. Wang took a deep breath of the air in the Cloud Sea and then walked into the depths of the jungle. Next part 289. As Wang Lin slowly walked through the jungle, there were small snakes moving within the mud. He also saw some fist-sized toads jumping in the mud and water. They seemed to enjoy the rain. Wang Lin felt like everything was very strange after entering the cloud sea. He didn't know where he was and began to ponder as he walked in the mud. He had come here to avoid Tuor Sen, but with Tuor Sen's power, he could easily break the barrier between the two star systems. It seemed when that time comes, there would be no place for him to hide. Rather than constantly escaping, I should establish a foothold in the cloud sea as soon as possible. Once my original body has passed the 3 trials 7 calamities, I'll think about a path for the future. Wang Lin looked at his waist and below. There was a hint of worry in his eyes. The most important this is to blend into the cloud sea with the identity of a cultivator from the cloud sea. Wang Lin looked up at the falling rain. Like the snow from the alliance that merged with the rain, he had to do this as well. While moving forward, his body gradually became smaller and his hair slowly turned black. His appearance changed slightly and he looked like an ordinary, poor scholar. He walked out from the raining jungle. The rainy season on the continent of Mo Luo would continue for several months. It wasn't until the earth was completely moist, people's bones began to ache, and everyone smelled slightly of rust that the rain would finally stop. Whether it was the cultivators or mortals, everyone on the continent Mo Luo was used to this. For cultivators, they would either go into closed-door cultivation during the rainy season or leave the continent to hunt for fierce beasts. Except, during this rainy season, almost all the members of the only sect on the continent of Mo Luo came out into the rain and headed to the northern area of the continent. Rays of light filled the sky and seemed to open up a path in the rain. If one looked from the ground, they would see a meteor shower-like scene. As for the mortals, they were mostly beside their fireplaces, enjoying the warmth of their homes. They would sometimes look outside their windows. It was dull but warm. The North Water Village was just like its name. It was located in the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo and was within 500 kilometers of the jungle. The people of the village mostly survived by farming, but there were teams of hunters in the village that hunted in the nearby valley. The people of the North Water Village would organize a group of experienced people every rainy season to go to the jungle to capture water toads. During these months of rain, these villagers would go 4 or 5 times. Every time they returned, they would be carrying large sacks filled with living water toads. When these villagers returned, their families would all come greet them in raincoats. Even the children would excitedly look at their fathers, brothers, uncles, or even grandfathers when they brought back bags of water toad. They would always be in a joyous mood. However, when the villagers of the North Water Village returned from the jungle this time, aside from bags of water toads, they also brought back a person. This was a very ordinary youth, and he looked very thin. He seemed to be unable to withstand the chill and was wearing a raincoat a villager had gifted him. He silently stood there with a strange expression. There was a hint of melancholy and reminiscence as he silently looked at the village before him. Little brother Seng, this is our North Water Village. You can live here for a period of time until the rainy season passes. Then you can follow along the mountain path to Spring City. A burly man in a raincoat passed the sack of water toads to someone else and smiled at Wang Lin. Wang Lin revealed a smile as he clasped his hands and said his thanks. The burly man waved his hand and smiled. I have never gone to school and have never learned any manners. Since we've met on the road, we are friends, so there's no need for brother to be polite. This rain is heavy, so quickly go inside the house. Mother of my child, quickly tidy up the back room and let brother Seng live there. The woman wearing a raincoat next to the man looked at Wang Lin and smiled. She didn't ask her husband who this person was and quickly returned home. After tidying up the back room, she also brought over a clean set of bedding. This burly man had a lot of prestige in the village, so a lot of neighbors came during the night. They naturally drank a lot of wine. Wang Lin sat at the side and held a bowl of wine. He looked at the mortals with a smile as he drank, and his heart was calm. After drinking, the burly men all laughed loudly. One of the men who was more than 40 years old took a bowl of wine to Wang Lin and said, "Brother Seng, our family's third brother said that if not for you, he wouldn't have survived that snake bite. This old man won't forget your life-saving grace." After he spoke, he drank the entire bowl of wine. Wang Lin smiled, Then he picked up the jug of wine on the table and took a big gulp before wiping his mouth and saying, "This wine isn't strong enough." The surrounding burly men all applauded when they saw this. The host that allowed Wang Lin to live in the back room laughed. "Woman, go bring the 3 jugs of Northwater Village wine. I want to let Brother Seng know we have some strong wine." The burly man's wife shook her head and went into the house. 2 more juniors followed, and soon, 3 jugs of wine were brought out. Time slowly passed like this, and in a flash, 1 month passed. The rainy season wasn't over, but the rain had lessened. There were even days where the sun would appear briefly and the rain would stop. Wang Lin was very popular in the village. Everyone seemed to accept this very quiet neighbor who was very good at drinking. The villagers also accepted him as a doctor. Many elders and villagers with stubborn disease witnessed Wang Lin's medical skills. They also accepted his exquisite wood carvings. Wang Lin was a carpenter on top of being a doctor. If time continued to pass and he could forget the crisis with Tuor Sen, forget the life and death of a cultivator, forget the schemes of life, then this was a life Wang Lin was looking forward to. He liked this peaceful life and enjoyed the village's joyous life. However, Wang Lin knew that this kind of life was like the brief sun during this rainy season. It would soon disappear. The cultivators of the Origin sect arrived at the north part of the continent of Mo Luo. They searched and searched again for mortals who were qualified to cultivate. Some were young and some were middle-aged. As for white-haired elders, they also looked at them, but most were not qualified. Even those that were would not be able to achieve any result before their death. On this day, a cultivator arrived on the Northwater village. This cultivator looked no more than 20 years old, but he was at the foundation establishment stage. At his age, with his cultivation level, he could be considered a leader among the younger generation. This cultivator's expression was cold, so he immediately frightened the people of the village. They all came out from their houses and trembled in the rain. The people of the continent of Mo Luo all knew of cultivators. They also understood that if this cultivator became angry, it would only take a moment for this person to slaughter them all. Zhao Yu frowned as he looked at all the mortals in the village. The rain bounded off 3 inches from him, keeping his clothes clean. The villagers were being soaked by the rain as the piercing cold invaded their bodies. The adults were fine, but the children were trembling due to the cold and hugged their parents. They had already been standing here for almost 15 minutes, but the cultivator still hadn't spoke. Immortal, the rain is cold and the children are weak. They can't stand this much more. How about, the burly man that had taken Wang Lin in began to speak. His little daughter was already frozen pale. However, before he could finish speaking, Zhao Yu's cold gaze flashed over and forced the burly man to swallow his words. Zhao Yu let out a cold snort and coldly said, "If they can't even withstand the rain, how can they become cultivators?" His cold snort contained a trace of his cultivation, and as it echoed in the ears of the villagers' faces became pale. As Wang Lin stood within the crowd, his expression became gloomy. He walked out from the crowd and walked toward Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu was startled and was about to shout, but then his eyes filled with confusion. His gaze moved from Wang Lin and onto the villagers, then he calmly said, "All of you, go back." The villagers were startled. They quickly took their children and rushed back inside. They didn't notice that as they scattered, Wang Lin waved his right hand. An invisible heat wave flowed into all the villagers' bodies and dispelled the cold. In the rainy night, Wang Lin walked ahead and Zhao Yu walked behind. He was no longer confused, but it was as if he had lost his soul. The actions of the Origin sect lasted nearly a month, and they gathered 31 mortals from the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo. Among them, 17 were teenagers and the rest were youths. All of them were sent to the Origin sect and settled down in the giant basin. The 4 great elders of the Origin sect placed great importance on the 31 people, and they were split among the 4 elders. Among the 7 people picked by the only female elder, Lu Yanfei, there was a youth named Seng Nyo from the Northwater village. Origin sect's southern courtyard. Although pavilions covered the basin, there were also buildings on the southern part of the mountain range. In particular, within a red forest that was red all season, there was a red pavilion. It had a number of dancing cranes carved onto it, and it was very beautiful. Lu Yenfei liked red, and almost everyone in the Origin sect knew this. Not only was her house red, Lu Yenfei even had a unique feeling toward red clothes. At this moment, Lu Yenfei was wearing a red dress with her hair spread out behind her. She quietly sat there, and her face was still pale as there was still sorrow that hadn't dissipated. This made her even more beautiful with a hint of red. However, even her 3 senior brothers weren't qualified to appreciate this lovely scene, because their cultivation levels were a step lower than Lu Yenfei's. The peak Nirvana scryer Lu Yenfei was the #1 beauty of the Origin sect, and she was very famous within the rank 5 domain. There were many people who had ideas about her, but due to her teacher's peak Nirvana cleanser cultivation, no one dared to make a move. However, now that her teacher had died, the Origin sect was in its weakest state. Right now, Lu Yenfei was holding a jade. This jade was purple, and she mercilessly squeezed it. Her jade-like hand even turned slightly white. There was humiliation in her eyes, but she could only endure. She even wanted to crush the jade in her hand, but when she thought of the consequences, the humiliation increased. After letting out a deep breath, she just barely fixed her mood and looked at the 3 female disciples before her, then she quietly said, "Let them come in." Lu Yenfei had only taken 3 disciples, and all 3 were female. The second disciple, Shu Yun, had the highest cultivation level. She was half a step into the illusory yin stage. Although Shu Yun wasn't as beautiful as her teacher, she was extremely delicate and had a gentle personality. It didn't take long for 4 pale-faced, trembling youths to enter. When they entered the room, they didn't even dare to breath. They lowered their heads and didn't know what they were doing. Lu Yenfei's gaze swept past the 4 youths as she softly said, "Eldest disciple, 3rd disciple, each of you take 2. Their talent is very ordinary, and whether they will become the spirit partner child will depend on luck. After 1 month, if they aren't recognized by the purple eye teacher left behind, send them home." 2 of the female disciples respectfully nodded. Then they took the 4 youths and departed. "Teacher, there are 3 more. They are a bit old," Shu Yun softly said on the side. Lu Yenfei looked at the purple jade and mercilessly squeezed it. After silently pondering for a moment, she shook her head. "There is no need to see them. Take them under you. Teacher still has things to do, so you can leave." Shu Yun hesitated for a bit as she looked at the purple jade in Lu Yenfei's hand. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she let out a sigh and respectfully left the room. It wasn't until Shu Yun left that killing intent filled Lu Yenfei's eyes. She was like a jade azura as she squeezed the purple jade. The humiliation in her eyes was completely replaced by killing intent. "Rudy, even if I, Lu Yenfei, die, I won't become your cultivation partner." There were 3 people outside the red pavilion. Aside from Wang Lin, there were 2 more youths. One of them looked simple with simple clothes. The other had a slightly evil look and wore a blue shirt. He had a bit of grace to him. Shu Yun came out with worry in her heart and looked at the 3 of them. When she saw the youth in blue, she frowned. "The 3 of you, hold still. I'll take the 3 of you back to the sect." Shu Yun waved her jade-like hands, then clouds appeared and took the 3 of them down to the bottom of the mountain range in the southern area. It didn't take long for them to arrive outside an intricate courtyard. There were a lot of plants planted in the courtyard, as well as several houses. When the cloud disappeared, the youth in blue turned pale and his body trembled, then he began puking on the side. It was obvious that the speed was too fast, and it was his first time flying, so he had lost his courage. As for the simple youth, his face was also pale. His body trembled, but he didn't puke. Wang Lin's expression was calm as his gaze fell on the plants in the courtyard and carefully looked at them one by one. Shu Yun looked at Wang Lin and her eyes lit up. She was very confused about Wang Lin's calmness. When she saw his gaze fall on the herbs, she couldn't help but ask, "You recognize them?" "Some of them," Wang Lin slowly said as he withdrew his gaze. Then he calmly said, "I'm a doctor." Shu Yun carefully looked at Wang Lin and said, "Since you recognize some of them, then you can stay here and take care of the herbs here." After that, she slapped her bag of holding and took out a jade. After concentrating for a bit, she threw it. This jade immediately flew off into the distance. This spell caused the simple youth to become very excited, and even the youth in blue revealed a look of yearning. It didn't take long for 2 rays of light to come from the distance, revealing 2 young cultivators. "Greetings, teacher." The 2 cultivators stood before Shu Yun and were very respectful. Arrange a place for the 2 of them to live and give them the chance for the first 3 layers. After Shu Yun gave her order, she walked into the courtyard. Then she turned around, pointed at Wang Lin, and said, "You, come in." This girl's turn and point would be a bit charming if her cold attitude was removed. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked into the courtyard. The fragrance of the herbs rushed into his face, and just one breath made him feel refreshed. Although he looked neutral, he was shocked. There were many herbs in this courtyard that were already extinct in the Alliance and all heaven. "You will live there." Shu Yun pointed at the wood house before her. She had already been observing Wang Lin as she felt he was too calm. If he was a cultivator, it would be fine, but no matter how much she checked, this Seng Nyo didn't have a trace of spiritual energy. This surprised her greatly. However, she didn't think about it too much. After telling him the method to take care of the herbs and giving him the cultivation chance, she ignored Wang Lin. She went into the house in the middle and began to cultivate. She was desperately trying to reach the corporeal yang stage so she could be of some help to her teacher. When she thought of the purple jade in her teacher's hand, Shu Yun felt bitter. She knew that her teacher's looks had caught the attention of many powerful cultivators. Now that the ancestor had died, many people's hearts were moved. When she thought about how her 3 uncle teachers refused to help, Shu Yun bit her lower lip tightly. If I can't reach the corporeal yang stage this time, I can only take the soul-parting death pill. Thinking about the terror of the soul-parting death pill, Shu Yun took a deep breath. After pondering for a bit, she closed her eyes to cultivate. She recently had a bit of a breakthrough in her domain, so she wasn't far from the corporeal yang stage. After Shu Yun left, Wang Lin faintly smiled and looked around at the herbs before walking into his own house. He found that his house wasn't big. Aside from a bed, there was a wood table. There was an oil lamp on the table. Stretching his body, he lied on the bed and looked at the wood roof, revealing a relaxed expression as he did so. He hadn't had it this easy in a very long time. Whether it was the North Water Village or his current location, both had given him a rare peace of mind. After cultivating to his level, aside from cultivating, the most important factors were understanding Tao and law. Lying here, Wang Lin felt calm, and he vaguely grasped some ideas. True and false. Perhaps I'm between true and false right now. Wang Lin revealed a smile and slowly closed his eyes. It didn't take long for the sky to gradually darken. Now the room was completely dark. Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes, but he didn't light the lamp. Instead, he sat down and his hands formed seals, then he pointed at multiple parts of his body. After letting out a breath of foul air, his body split into 2. His avatar and original body split in this wood house in the southern courtyard of the Origin sect. His original body sat there, and everything below the waist was only bones. His bones were dark and there were faint, red lines across the bones. If anyone else saw this, they would definitely gasp. The original body was even worse than when he was at the Vermilion Bird Divine sect. It seemed like his injuries were even worse. In truth, Wang Lin had fused with his original body as early as when he left the Vermilion Bird Divine sect to save the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor in the Rain Celestial Realm. However, due to the original body's problem, even though they were fused, there wasn't much ancient god power left to use. Ancient gods encounter 3 trials, 7 calamities. According to Two Size memories, only after reaching 6 stars should I encounter the first 2 calamities of the first trial. I didn't think I would face the first trial early. The first trial involves the flesh calamity and the bone calamity. Both are indeed strong. As Wang Lin looked at his original body, he waved his right hand. A crack to his storage space opened and fist-sized blood crystals flew out. All of these blood crystals released a blood light, but, strangely enough, the lights were all contained within the room and none of it leaked out. Wang Lin looked at the blood crystals as he waved his right hand and the blood crystals flew at his original body. They landed on the skeleton-like lower half and gradually covered that part of the body. His original body opened its eyes and then sank into the ground, disappearing from the room. He continued to sink until he reached the depths of the continent of Mo Luo. Then he closed his eyes and began to absorb the aura from the blood crystals. Wang Lin had searched through two size memories when his original body's 3 trials 7 calamities arrived early. After looking through the memories, he was enlightened and had a guess. His ancient god body was incomplete compared to the body of a true ancient god. It would be very difficult to pass the first trial without an ancient god's heartblood. However, this was only his speculation. Wang Lin wasn't sure if his original body could pass the flesh calamity of the first trial. As he pondered, time passed and the morning sunlight entered the room. The sound of the pouring rain also entered Wang Lin's ears. Even the morning air was damp during the rainy season on the continent of Mo Luo. Pushing open the window, countless drops of water would landed on the windowsill. Some even splashed onto Wang Lin's face. This rain was very cold, but cold rain in the morning could help one awaken. Looking through the window, the rain was strong. The herbs in the yard were a lot tougher than normal plants, so the rain did no harm to them. The rain fell on the herbs and nourished the roots. Waves of spiritual energy spread out from the rain. Wang Lin took a deep breath as he picked up an umbrella and walked out from the room. The sound of his feet landing on the mud mixed with the sound of the rain falling on his umbrella. Wang Lin listened to this sound as he felt the origin energy of the world. He was happy as he slowly walked forward. Xu Yun's cultivation session hadn't ended. She was still silently cultivating, trying to break through the illusory yin stage into the corporeal yang stage. She wasn't aware that Wang Lin had left, though even if she wasn't immersed in cultivation, she wouldn't know of Wang Lin's departure. After arriving at the origin sect, Wang Lin didn't hide his cultivation level. Given his current status, he didn't feel the need to hide it. However, without using any spells, no one could see that he was a cultivator, as no one could see through his cultivation. A Nirvana cleanser cultivator's origin energy was integrated with the world, allowing them to absorb origin energy from the world to use. As long as the origin energy inside his body doesn't move, then no origin energy fluctuations will appear. If this was all, Lu Yanfei might have seen something. However, Wang Lin had a sliver of source origin and had already seen the third step. He had also experienced what it was like to be a third-step cultivator with the help of Celestial Emperor Qing Lin. Therefore, there was no one on this continent that could see through his cultivation. He held the umbrella wearing white clothes as he walked out of the yard and began to walk through the origin sect. He did encounter other cultivators, but they were all in a rush and didn't disturb each other. Wang Lin walked up the mountain from the southern courtyard. He didn't use any spell and used his body to walk toward the peak. The mountain breeze was very strong at the top of the mountain. At a glance, the clouds covered the sky and there was lightning flashing within them, releasing muffled sounds of thunder. Wang Lin breathed in the wet air, looked at the scene in the distance, and felt the origin energy of the world. Wang Lin's heart was calm. If not for the uninvited guest, he would enjoy this feeling. He was at a place where no one knew him. He was in a foreign world, savoring the smell of the rain by himself. "Who are you?" A cold voice came from behind him. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he turned around and saw a woman behind him. This woman wore a red dress that looked like a red cloud. Her black hair was scattered behind her, and the black and red contrasted with her slightly pale face, making her even more beautiful. This woman was very delicate, but on this rainy and thunderous day, she gave off a sense of loneliness and helplessness. Her faint hint of humiliation appeared clearly in Wang Lin's eyes. Wang Lin calmly said, "My name is Seng Nyo." The woman in red coldly looked at Wang Lin and frowned. The name Seng Nyo was completely unfamiliar to her. If not for the fact that Wang Lin was only a mortal, she would have already drove him down the mountain. Seng Nyo. The woman remembered that among the 31 mortals brought back from the north, one of them was named Seng Nyo. However, this person was simply too calm, and this wasn't something that could be faked. "Leave this place," the woman said coldly. After all, she was a powerful cultivator and would naturally not make a move on a mortal. Although she was irritable, she maintained her calm. Wang Lin suddenly smiled and walked past the woman in red. He followed the road and was about to leave. The woman in red turned around and looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's calmness surprised her. It has to be said that in the entire Origin sect, aside from her teacher, every disciple would be extremely nervous and respectful. Even her 3 senior apprentice brothers would show some respect due to her higher cultivation level. There was not need to talk about mortals, but this man before her was strangely calm. The gaze of the woman in red was like lightning as she stared at Wang Lin's back as if she could see through him. After carefully checking, she finally determined that the person before her was just a mortal. The woman in red let out a sigh and whispered, "Wait. Are you willing to listen to me?" Lu Yanfei had a very high status in the Origin sect, and most people were very respectful to her. Also, due to her status, there were some things that weren't convenient to speak about. The youth before her didn't have any cultivation and was a mere mortal. In Lu Yanfei's eyes, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. More importantly, the youth's calmness was infectious and unconsciously helped her calm down. She just wanted to find someone who could listen to her. At this time, during this rainy morning on this mountain, it was just the two of them. Wang Lin pondered and stopped walking away. He stood at the top of the mountain as he looked at the dark clouds in the distance and nodded. The mountain breeze whistled by with the rain. Aside from the wind and rain, it was calm. When I was 13, I was accepted as a disciple by teacher and stepped onto the path of cultivation. Lu Yanfei's voice was calm and filled with nostalgia. Her voice slowly disappeared into the rain. When I was attempting my breakthrough to the ascendant stage, teacher was willing to expend a large amount of herbs in the sect and even went to trade for more from other sects to refine me a heaven-deceiving pill that allowed me to reach the ascendant stage. I still remember that year. Teacher took me into the stars hunting. It took 3 years before he helped me catch a 6-eyed red fox to become my life beast spirit. Lu Yanfei slowly and bitterly spoke. She didn't care whether Wang Lin could understand or listen, she just looked at the horizon as if she was muttering to herself. Teacher has died. From now on, I'll never be able to see him again. Lu Yanfei had said a lot. Wang Lin stood on the side and silently listened. Time gradually passed and soon it was noon. The rain in the sky lessened gradually until it stopped. The dark clouds in the distance disappeared and the sky became clear. A bright rainbow hung over the sky, giving off an indescribable beauty. The Purple Dao sect caused teacher's death, and then their junior master sent over a jade asking me to become his cultivation couple. If I don't agree, then they will report to the main sect that they will start a war with our Origin sect, taking advantage of my teacher's death. The main sect never liked us. If the Purple Dao sect really requests it, then there's an 80% chance the main sect will agree. Lu Yanfei bit her lower lip, and there was a hint of bitterness in her beautiful expression. What is ridiculous is that my 3 senior apprentice brothers didn't dare to step forward at all and thought that this matter was set. They want me to sacrifice myself to bring peace to the Origin sect. However, do they really think that the Origin sect will be safe once I belong to Lu Hai? 2 streams of tears fell from Lu Yanfei's eyes, went down along her cheeks, and landed on the ground, mixing with the rain. She silently looked at the rainbow over the horizon and muttered, "There is a rainbow after the wind and rain, but my Origin sect's rainbow is bleak." Wang Lin's expression was calm. Seeing that the woman in red was finished speaking, he turned around and walked down the mountain. The woman in red didn't stop him this time and silently looked at the horizon. After a long time, she revealed a determined expression and killing intent appeared in her eyes. She looked back at the direction where Wang Lin went. This person's heart is on par with people at my generation. If he steps on the road of cultivation, he will definitely have great achievements in the future. Unfortunately, Wang Lin walked down the mountain and entered the courtyard holding the umbrella. Xu Yun was still cultivating when Wang Lin returned to the house, and his eyes lit up. I already knew from Zhao Yu's memories that this Cloud Sea Star system would be very different from the Alliance and All Heaven. Now that I listened to the elder of the Origin sect, it seems a majority of cultivators cultivate using spirit beasts. Their alchemy is also unique. The Cloud Sea was filled with fog and inside the fog was a world that belonged to spirit beasts. Wang Lin began to ponder, especially when he pondered the words of that elder. There was actually pill that could help one reach the ascendant stage. Heaven-deceiving pill. Wang Lin's eyes revealed interest. He couldn't forget that if not for Ju Yi's ascendant crystal, he would have been burned to death by the origin flame. Those who seeked Tao in the morning could be dead by dusk. This Cloud Sea star system actually has a pill to help cultivators pass the first life and death trial in cultivation. It can be said that the Cloud Sea's alchemy has reached a peak. There are probably pills that can even help cultivators at the second step. However, cultivators should focus on comprehending Tao, and pills is considered unorthodox method. Yet why did the Cloud Sea star system develop alchemy to this degree? Wang Lin frowned slightly, but he soon relaxed. Could it be? There are pills that can help comprehend domain. Thinking about this, Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat and he let out a deep breath. Just at this moment, his expression changed and his gaze seemed to penetrate his own house before landing on Xu Yun. At this moment, Xu Yun opened her eyes and coughed out blood. Her face was pale. She had failed trying to break through to the corporeal yang stage again. This failure caused her origin soul to become injured. Xu Yun bit her lower lip and revealed a decisive gaze. She slapped her bag of holding and took out a pill. She crushed the pill without hesitation, revealing a black pill. The moment the pill appeared, it released rich origin energy, and there was also a faint soul force inside it. Soul-parting death pill. Xu Yun clenched her teeth and was about to swallow the pill. At this moment, a calm voice appeared. Stop. This video will end here.